What is going on, H-Town? I got the charcoal on the grill, so we got about 10 to 15 minutes before they turn white. I just opened up the Blue Moon and I started cutting the orange slices. I am excited, man. Shout out to my boy who I met at the Astros game yesterday, the Houston Texans. They won the 2023 NFL Draft. I am putting on my victory shades on because also it is very bright in here, but all from Thursday up until the end of the draft yesterday, you couldn't keep your eyes off the TV. You couldn't keep your eyes off of Twitter because you knew the Houston Texans and general manager Nick Caserio were going to trade up and make a move. And the national media applauded the way the Houston Texans approached and attacked this draft. From ESPN to the NFL analysts, shout out to our boy Jordan Pun, Texan Styles, going on Bleacher Report and giving this H-Town city some loves. We are not used to that. So that gives us a sign that the bad days are behind us, ladies and gentlemen. And I'm not going to lie, I was so nervous heading up into the first round. Are we going to draft the mayonnaise drinking quarterback? No, he fell to the second round. Thank God. But the Houston Texans, they started it up at pick 2, selecting their franchise quarterback, CJ Stroud. You are a Houston Texans. The city is behind you, and you definitely deserve those extra 40 to 50 seconds of crying alone in your chair. I know exactly how you felt, man. The sense of accomplishment of finally getting somewhere that you've been dreaming about since you were a little kid. CJ Stroud is going to ignite the city of Houston. He is going to put butts in seats. The crowd reaction to just hearing the letter C, we absolutely erupted. And then you hear him say, I am a leader. I am a man of God. And what was very cool is at the Houston Texans draft party, CJ Stroud and Will Anderson, right? We'll get to him in a little bit. They talked to the city of Houston. And yes, they were all excited for CJ. But you would have thought this dude was selected behind Will Anderson. He gave him the props first, right? They asked him, what are you bringing in H-Town? And he was like, well, first, let me talk about my teammate, Will Anderson. That immediately got the crowd hyped. CJ Stroud, you are going to win this team a Super Bowl championship one day, man. I am calling it right now. And then the Houston Texans, what did they do? They traded all the way from 12 to 3, and they selected the best defensive player in this draft. And D'Amico Ryans, he gets his franchise edge rusher. And welcome to the stage, Will Anderson. Now, I know first a lot of people were upset that the Houston Texans traded from 12 to 3, but it would have cost them a hell of a lot more if they would have had to trade it up for CJ Stroud. Shout out to our boy Caleb for letting us know about that scenario there. The Houston Texans, by trading up and getting Will Anderson, right, we saw that pick was for D'Amico Ryans. We saw that CJ Stroud pick was not only for ownership, but it was for the Houston Texans fans. You see them working together. You see them getting the best of both worlds, right? There was no beef, there was no issue, right, between Nick Caserio and D'Amico Ryans, which some people thought, right, leading up into the NFL draft, which was there were some rumors about Nick Caserio potentially leaving. No, they put that rumors to bed by having one of the best Houston Texans draft, right? And you finished the first round with CJ Stroud and Will Anderson Jr., two franchise game changing players, right? Who is going to be offensive rookie of the year? Who is going to be defensive rookie of the year? Dare I say, I put some money on both our guys to make it. Then the second round began for the Houston Texans, and we had the 33 overall pick, but it was used to trade up for Will Anderson Jr. So the Houston Texans at this point right now didn't have nothing for round 2, but that go out and get the mentality was once again in Nick Caserio's head, and he traded up for Drew Scruggs, center from Penn State. An awesome nickname right off the bat, but even a better story. This dude broke his back in 2020 in a car accident prior to the 2019 spring practice, right? He spent months in a back brace and acted as a de facto coach for the line during his recovery. That is absolutely crazy. He played in 7 games as a reserve in 2020, earning a team award for inspiring his teammates. Yeah, dude, if I would have saw my guy break his back and then come back and play some some games, that would excite me too. Finally able to start in 2021, Scruggs was named honorable mention All Big Ten Conference for his play in 13 contests. He was third team selection as a senior, starting all 13 games as a center. Dude broke his back, had to learn how to walk again, and then decided to play football and be a better football player. And you are now a second round selection, Drew Scruggs, and you are the center for the Houston Texans. You complete the puzzle. The only thing this Houston Texans O-line needing was someone snapping the ball to CJ Stroud, and it is Drew Scruggs. I have to say, I am excited. I watch him break down his own film. He pays so much attention to detail, his hand usage, his pad level, his eyes, right? Knowing where to go on run plays, knowing how to set yourself up when there's a pass play. Shout out to Drew Scruggs, man. The more I read into him, the more I fall in love with this, with this pick more and more. CJ Stroud should definitely be happy. Then the Houston Texans went into the third round and drafted maybe everyone's favorite selection, and that was Nathaniel Tankdale. And what did he do before the new year this year? He texted the Houston Texans on December 29th and said, "Don't let me leave the city." And the Houston Texans, they absolutely listened. Elite route runner, elite playmaking ability, and special teams, right? Frank Ross has to be smiling right now, but Tank Dell, as soon as we heard his name, we immediately were screaming, the H-Town product is coming home. Tank Dell was on everyone's board for the Houston Texans, right? 17 touchdowns with the Cougars, 10 in his last 10 games, right? What did he do this season for the University of Houston? Well, he caught 109 passes for 1,398 yards, 17 touchdowns, and 13 starts. Like I just said, 10 in his last 10, and he is an elite punt returner, and he had a touchdown in that also. Tank Dell, you are going to be a weapon and a gadget here for the Houston Texans and CJ Stroud. And when you look at the wide receiving core now, Tank Dell, John Minchie, who was at Houston Texans OTAs and was a full participant, Nico Collins, Robert Woods, there is definitely a open spot here on this wide receiver room. Tank Dell could easily go out there and outshine everyone and be the number one wide receiver. That wouldn't surprise me at all. This dude transferred from Alabama A&M to the University of Houston, then absolutely bursted onto the scene, man. Tank Dell, shout out to you, dude. I might even have to buy your jersey. The only thing we have to know is what number are you going to wear and what is going to be your touchdown celebration. Then the Houston Texans started the fourth round by trading back with the Philadelphia Eagles, and then they selected Dylan Horton, edge rusher from TCU. Now, this is a guy who just can get to the quarterback, right? When he transferred to TCU in 2020, he played in 8 games off the bench and he had 8 tackles, 1 sack, and Horton led the Horned Frogs with 9 tackles for loss and tied for the team lead with 4 sacks in 2021. So immediately improvement there. He also got a honorable mention, all Big 12 honors, and then he was an honorable mention, all conference selection in 2022 as well, because he tied for 8th in the SBS with 10 and a half sacks, among with his team leading 15 tackles for loss and 15 starts, right? Jordan from Texans Thoughts, he said this reminds him of Charles Omenihu and how when he got to D'Amico Ryans, right, his play just went up through the roof. Dylan Horton, man, when you can get to the QB and you haven't really gotten into your football body yet, right? He is still a raw prospect. He started off, guys, as a reserve linebacker. Then he got 20 pounds, became an edge rusher. So there's still a lot of growth for Dylan Horton. This is why you love D'Amico Ryans being here. I think this is a D'Amico Ryans pick, ladies and gentlemen. You can never have too many edge rushers. And Dylan Horton, he absolutely excites me, man. When you have people who could get to the QB, the only question is, right, how soon does he, come onto the field? Because you have Will Anderson Jr., then you have Jonathan Gennard on the other side, who tweeted out today, "Don't forget about me," right? I'm keeping down the names of the guys who don't think I'm going to do anything. And then the Houston Texans in the fifth round, they traded up. This was the pattern throughout the whole draft. And that was for Henry To'oTo'o, a linebacker from Alabama. Another one of D'Amico Ryan's pick, right? Let's not forget he talked about that scenario where he was with the 49ers. And I think it was this exact round, the fifth round, where he wanted a linebacker. Then the 49ers selected Elijah Mitchell, running back, which turned out to be a very good selection for them. But here with Henry To'oTo'o, and he has the relationship with Christian Harris, also 4 years experience in the SEC, was with Tennessee, and then he transferred to the Crimson Tide. And then this is where he started getting all his, his accolades and stuff like that. He transferred from Tennessee to Alabama in 2021, and he earned a second team All SEC honors with his first season with the Tide, leading the team with 112 tackles, eight and a half of those for loss, and 4 sacks. Also had 2 pass breakups. Then he made first team All Conference as a senior with 93 tackles, 8 tackles for loss, and 2.5 sacks. This Houston Texans linebacker core I mentioned, it does not have youth. The youth is Christian Harris, Garrett Wallow, and now Henry To'oTo'o, and that's about it. They are littered with veterans, right? Denzel Perryman, Christian Kirksey, Corey Littleton. We are going to see this linebacker room transform in the next coming months for this Houston Texans team. It is going to be absolutely fun to see. And here goes the last 3 picks for the Houston Texans. In the sixth round, they selected 2 guys. The first one was Jared Patterson, center slash guard from Notre Dame. Now, this is a guy who has the versatility to play all over the interior of the offensive line, kind of what a Justin McCray replacement, a Scott Quisenberry replacement. Play a couple games at center when we need you, play a couple games at guard when we need you. The only thing is Jared Patterson, man, he had a very injury riddled college season. Right, here it goes. After redshirt in the 2018 season, playing in 3 games as a reserve, he suited up in center for 2019, starting all 13 games that fall. He started 8 contests in 2020 before missing the end of the year with a foot injury. Patterson was third all-team, all-ACC pick in 2020. He missed spring practice after getting a pin removed from his foot, but started all 13 games in 2021. He missed the 2022 season opener after suffering a foot injury in practice, but began the remaining 12 contests, shifting one spot over from left guard. So the injury history, does it concern me? Yes, because it is the foot, man. And myself, who has destroyed my ankles, that doesn't go away. However, in the sixth round, I'm not too mad at this pick. You are drafting for depth here, and Jared Patterson is just another key addition to this Houston Texans offensive line. And the pick that I liked out of the sixth round, a lot of people are calling this a steal, is Xavier Hutchinson, wide receiver from Iowa State. Now, he went to Blinn College for 2 years and was rated a top 10 junior college wide receiver recruit after winning first team all conference notice in 2019. Hutchinson then transferred to Iowa State, garnering first team all Big 12 honors and conference newcomer of the year honors after leading his squad with 64 catches for 771 yards with 4 receiving touchdowns. He was first team pick in 2021, as well as leading Iowa State with a school record 83 catches, 987 yards, and 5 touchdowns. Then in 2022, we saw the emergence of Xavier. He ranked third in FBS with 107 catches, 1,171 yards, and he led with 6 touchdowns in 12 games for Iowa State. This was a good pick for the Houston Texans. Very solid, in my opinion. I think we go with 6 wide receivers at the start of the NFL season. Shout out to our boy Cody Johnson for getting this pick right. He was in his mock draft. And then to finish off this Houston Texans 2023 NFL draft class, Brandon Hill, who ran the fastest 40 in the combine. He is a Houston Texans, a gunner for the special teams, and Frank Ross. He redshirted his first year in Pittsburgh, coming off a strong career at Waukegan High School in Florida. He started twice in 10 games played. In 2020, he had 27 tackles, 1.5 tackles for loss, 1 INT return for a touchdown, and 2 forced fumbles before started 13 of 14 games in 2021. He garnered second team All ACC honors where he had 81 tackles, 2 interceptions, and 6 pass breakups. He was an honorable mention All League pick in 2020. We had 67 tackles, 2 pass breakups, and he started 12 games and then opted out the team's bowl game to prepare for the NFL draft. This wrapped up the draft class for the Houston Texans. And I have to say, man, I am ready. I am excited. You knocked it out the park. You put your name out there and said that I am going to be committed to winning. And that is why I traded up for pretty much every single one of my players, guys. You let me know how you feel as we wrap up the 2023 NFL draft for the Houston Texans. Go Houston. Y'all have a very blessed day.